Imagine receiving a letter, but it's not a calm update or a friendly hello. It's an urgent, passionate, all caps plea written because everything is on the line. That's the feeling of the book of Galatians. You'll find it in the New Testament, right after 2 Corinthians and before Ephesians. Its placement isn't accidental. It sits among a collection of letters addressing the very first identity crisis of the early Christian movement, tackling the question of what it truly means to follow Jesus. Galatians serves as a fiery declaration of freedom at a pivotal moment in the biblical story. Traditionally, this letter is linked to the Apostle Paul, and the voice speaking from its pages is anything but detached. It's personal, raw, and at times astonished. The author doesn't open with gentle praise, but with a sharp challenge, expressing shock that the believers are so quickly deserting the core of their faith. It's written less like a theological paper and more like an emergency intervention for people he deeply cares about. So, what was this crisis? The letter is addressed to a cluster of young churches in the Roman province of Galatia, a region in modern-day Turkey. These were communities filled with new believers, many of whom were not from a Jewish background. But a new group of teachers had arrived with a different message. They insisted that to truly be part of God's family, these non-Jewish converts had to adopt ancient Jewish laws, especially the ritual of circumcision. They were adding an "and" to the gospel. Faith in Jesus is great, they said. And you must follow these rules to be saved? This created confusion, division, and threatened to turn a message of liberating grace into just another religion of rule-keeping. The letter's response unfolds like a powerful three-part argument. It begins with a deeply personal defense, insisting the message of grace wasn't a human invention, but came directly from a revelation of Jesus Christ. Then it dives into the theological heart of the matter, an appeal that being made right with God has always been about trust, about faith, not about perfectly following a list of regulations. Finally, it pivots to the practical question. If we're free from the law, what now? The answer isn't chaos, but a completely new way of living. One guided not by an external code, but by the internal presence of God's Spirit. This brings us to the book's explosive central themes. The first is justification by faith. This is the revolutionary idea that we are declared right in God's eyes, not through our own performance or religious resume, but simply by trusting in what God has done for us through Jesus.
This leads directly to the second theme, freedom in Christ. This isn't a license to do whatever we want. It's freedom from the crushing weight of trying to earn our salvation, and freedom for a life of love, joy, and peace. And this freedom creates a new kind of community. In Christ, the old social and religious barriers that divided humanity, Jew or Gentile, slave or free, male or female, begin to crumble. All are one. Galatians isn't just an ancient document, it's a charter of spiritual liberty. It functions as a crucial hinge in the Bible's grand story, clarifying that the promise of redemption is now open to the entire world through faith, not through adherence to a specific cultural or religious code. It's a passionate, timeless reminder that the core of faith isn't about what we do for God, but about receiving what God has done for us. It challenges every generation to ask, are we living in the freedom of grace, or are we slowly building our own cages with new rules and regulations? The letter's message echoes today. True freedom is never found on a checklist, but only in a life transformed by the Spirit.